Well, we've talked about the one world government, we've talked about the one world religion, but we haven't talked about the one game. Hey, what's up guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. There was a movie out recently called Ready Player One, and I had a chance to see it in theaters. Took a ton of notes, and actually, I probably could have made a pretty extensive and detailed post about it, but I think most people get it. It's a virtual world set in the year 2045, which is the same year as the 2045 plan by Russian mogul Dmitry Itskov and his plan to create hologram-like avatar bodies by 2045. And there's all kinds of stuff from, the villain in the movie Halliday and the etymology of his name connected to Holy Day, the IOI, the ziggurat that was planned. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that was in the film that I can probably make into a Steam It post or something. But this OASIS, what was the OASIS?
This is the OASIS. It's a place where the limits of reality are your own imagination.
It's the place where people can be anything they wanted to be, and they can create worlds, any kind of world they wanted to. And of course, this idea of only being limited by your imagination is familiar to those familiar with the Bible. Genesis chapter 10, when the Table of Nations were dispersed, and then Genesis 11, when the Tower of Babel was being built and God put an end to it. Why did he put an end to it? Because if they succeed, they would be able to do anything they imagined to do. And so Jesus said we're going to be living in the days of Noah again. And I think this is one characteristic that can be stated, that the world has returned to a single language, this binary form of ones and zeros that we are able to manipulate with our computers, basically, and through programming and all this stuff. Effectively, the invisible stuff going on in computers is in its own way magic, because it's reconfiguring and repositioning electrical signals to reproduce something on a screen or in a virtual environment or whatever. So we really are in this days of the Tower of Babel once again. And I don't just say that as sort of like a, hey, this science fiction film is going to come true one day. There are projects out there that are being built and being funded right now that prove that this sort of thing is being built. So there is a real-life OASIS that is being built, and there's lots of projects that are doing similar things, but this one caught my attention. It's called One Game. It's built on something called Deep Brain Chain, which is a cryptocurrency blockchain thing that I'll get into in a minute here. What is One Game? A decentralized virtual world that grants gamers the ability to create their own digital universe. An incentive-based ecosystem where tokens are awarded to the top-performing creators and players. A self-evolving platform where unlimited gaming possibilities and variations are generated. Imagine like a Sims game type thing where you can create your own person, your own avatar within the game, but then you can create your own universes and worlds depending on, how much crypto you have, I guess. And you can create all kinds of stuff, anything you want. And again, people can virtually visit these places. You can create casinos, you can create all kinds of stuff to actually make quote unquote money, or just experiences. And so it's really this crazy thing happening where we're really going from a physical world experience to a virtual world experience, and the bridge that is going to connect those things is really, I think, an attempt for humanity to bring back what was once lost, this open communication with the unseen world, the spiritual world that really overlaps our world. And, the fact that we are blind from all of it, thanks to the fall, thanks to the curse and being kicked out of the garden and all this stuff, the redemption plan is in the process of being fulfilled, and we're part of a generation that gets to see some pretty interesting things, I think. So nothing to be scared of. It's just pretty crazy that we're here in this time that this sort of technology is being developed. I mean, this kind of thing would seem like absolute magic if you tried to explain a project like this to anybody in the past. So anyway, let's dig in a little more to one.game. So I just wanted to scroll through here and give you guys a basic idea. It says here in the intro, since Atari pioneered video gaming with the introduction of Pong in 1972, and technology and human-computer interaction concepts and design continued to advance in the ensuing half-century. Oh, by the way, 1972. There's an actual reference in the film Ready Player One where there are some quarters that are put over the eyes of a character, and on the quarter it says 1972. A little Easter egg. I'm sure somebody has pointed it out. But anyway, from Moore's Law, hardware has consistently evolved into better and more powerful consoles, while video games have been integrated into PCs, mobile devices, and virtual reality gears as game developers build more innovative and entertaining gaming experiences. And this is true if you actually just look for Ready Player One on YouTube. There's all kinds of videos of people trying out similar technologies with the glove and the virtual goggles and all kinds of stuff. This was inevitable. We know this was coming, and so it's not a surprise. But again, there has to be a digital virtual infrastructure to support this sort of universe where anything is possible, where you can create all kinds of stuff. It says here, despite these technical advances, modern large-scale multiplayer games still suffer from significant limitations. Most games in today's market are pre-designed by developers and game designers with pre-programmed stages or rules. Flexibility within the game is limited. No matter how good the game is, inevitably sooner or later, the players lose interest. Additionally, the rules and judgments in the existing games are not always transparent or fair, and often incite complaints among players. The game players lack ultimate control to make much requested changes, while the corporate game designers and developers hold the ultimate arbitrating power within the gaming environment. The game players are relegated to a subservient position, while game developers and designers act as de facto masters. The advent of blockchain technology now allows us to overcome these limitations and empower the game players as well as all participants in the game, including the game designers and developers. We can create a decentralized virtual world in which the game player is the ultimate owner, creator, and arbiter. And it says here, one.game will build a decentralized and self-evolving world governed by creators, gamers, and players based on ranking systems that reward the right actors. So, see, I find that interesting. They go through this whole idea of like, hey, the centralized, corporations have all the rules, and they design and have power over the universe, the virtual spaces that are created. And so, the ability to grow and expand and change and evolve are limited. And this is true. This has been kind of the landscape of video gaming. Some game gets really popular, everyone's playing it, and unless it adapts or changes or upgrades, usually they hold on to a core sort of cult following, but the masses go somewhere else and they go to the next trendy game or whatever. That's just the nature of the game. But no pun intended, but then intended possibly as a Freudian slip, I don't know. But anyway, point being, ultimately they want to create just one game. Why do we need hundreds of thousands of games? Let's just make one game where everybody can play. Sounds like the OASIS, right? And the other thing that's interesting is this idea of decentralization, the blockchain, and allowing people to build it. Because I find something fascinating about the image of the beast. Okay, it says the people are deceived into building the image to the beast that had a mortal head wound but lived. So I really think it's possible that this sort of virtual space, a one.game situation, exists as an overlapping quote-unquote reality over our physical reality, and the two are going to mix, kind of like the movie Ready Player One, where people are basically living in the virtual space every day trying to earn a living and trying to improve their physical condition, which is basically living in these slums, these stacked houses, basically all they have is enough room to get on Ready Player One to do their jobs. But it also gets into the concept of digital slavery, people that are trapped within the game and trapped under a certain, totalitarian or a dictator type of person that has control over them and things like that, all kinds of possibilities. And so this is the kind of stuff, the endless possibility type of concept that drives, I think, the curiosity of mankind to do this sort of thing. But again, is that a good thing? Based on the fallen nature of humankind and the sin-filled heart, no, it's not a good thing. Even if our intentions are good, I really think there's a reason why there's a new heaven and a new earth that has to replace the old heaven and the old earth. We do something really messed up to physical reality that God has to restore it. Anyway, rambling on here. Let me get back to this document here. What is one game? We kind of went over some of that. And so they want to make it easy for people to use this. So you can have a user account and you can create your own avatar. You can create your own land systems. You can have game assets, objects within the game, animals, vehicles, things like that. Obviously, avatar already mentioned. Different scripts. So developers can create customized rules for their land or maybe their building. They can have certain laws of physics that act differently within that space and things like that. It's crazy. Then you can have a lobby, a starting point for players. And so there's a technical architecture here that they show based on Deep Brain Chain, which again is this cryptocurrency or this crypto project out of China. And they actually, I think, are trying to expand and create an office in Silicon Valley up north in San Francisco, from where I'm at anyway. And so this is, I think, something that they're trying to build in the United States. And they want to keep all this stuff, the development tools and everything, they want to keep that free. They want to use the open source stuff because a lot of it is behind closed doors. So we'll see how that integrates. I think more open source stuff is going to come out and they'll adopt it, is what they say. So here it is, smart contract on Deep Brain Chain. One Game's core system is built on top of Deep Brain Chain as smart contracts. It contains the following key components: miners registration center, incentive programs, land system, asset system. So basically they're using Deep Brain Chain as sort of the infrastructure for the transactions to take place, for the record keeping to take place, so that everything is on a distributed ledger and it's immutable. So it's not just a centralized, behind red tape type of situation where the data is collected and stored. Rather, it is a decentralized, everybody shares the ledger together and, they all have to agree if there is an update to the ledger, that sort of thing. The same thing as Bitcoin. Same concept being used in this grander scale of virtual gaming. And so Deep Brain Chain will have a main server that, will act as a fundamental component. They have AI algorithms, numeric computing, scripting engines and everything. This gets pretty technical. And then this is the part that I really wanted to let you guys know about, because this gets into some pretty wild stuff. Self-evolving of the platform based on genetic algorithms. So One Game developers will provide various types of game assets and scripts to the platform over time, while game players will provide an ongoing stream of data through gameplay. You create data when you play in the game, and you're giving it to these developers to create more things and use that data to create a better world, right? That's what they're selling. As One Game assets and scripts are highly modularized, we believe the combination of different modules will generate unlimited gaming possibilities and variations. One Game developer tools allow developers to map asset modules with genes similar to that of DNA gene. Every gene carries a trait. By paying a fee, game players can apply random genetic mutations or combinations onto assets owned by them or acquire new assets. Game players can continue to iterate on the combination process until they are happy with the generated content. After multiple rounds of developers and players' input and feedback, the genes will allow the platform to evolve with surprising results via this selection process. One Game grants players and developers godlike powers of personalization and creation. One Game's self-evolving genetic algorithm combines knowledge in biology, mathematics, and computer science. As the platform evolves, we will further develop the theory and publish new papers. So there you have it, an example of genetic recombination and mutation of two avatars. So again, guys, they're really mirroring physical reality here to the point where their algorithms are based on actual real life things. And looks like they've figured out a popularity rank and competitiveness rank equation. So it's all math, guys. It's all just math equations. And, they got people that are part of this team. A guy that's a tech lead and manager on Google Maps for 7 years. Again, they got people from Silicon Valley in this project. So it's something that I think you're going to hear about in the future. You may not hear about it for a while, but, just keep in mind that this sort of technology, again, very eerie if you start looking at biblical prophecy. Revelation 13:13, it performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And this, of course, is the second beast, the false prophet, performing these miracles that are traditionally reserved for God and his prophets in the Bible. But this is going to be a counterfeit here at the end times. And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. If people are all sharing in the data, they're going to create the image of the beast. So it says it right there. The people are going to be deceived into building it. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. And again, I go back to the film Ready Player One, where once the VR world becomes the actual central location, the central economic engine of this world, then that's when we start talking about the mark of the beast. And it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. And of course, the www and the 666 and computers and all the connections there. We've covered it before. But even if you're not somebody that believes in biblical prophecy and eschatology, you gotta at least admit it's a little weird that so many things that were just kind of wild stuff, wild prophecies, ramblings of a madman, in the book of Revelation, John on the island of Patmos, is suddenly starting to sound plausible with the development of things like one.game and virtual worlds, and how we are integrating and overlapping physical reality with this virtual reality, and the mission to create that single space, the one game, where everybody has to log on to buy or sell or trade. It's coming, folks. I don't think we're far away. And we might see some pretty interesting things in our lifetime, so make sure you prepare physically, mentally, emotionally, but most importantly, spiritually. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.